So I will instantly say that I did not stay on the PTB for long, and even then I only faced bots, mostly because queues are 40 minutes every PTB and I can't be bothered. Starting with killer perks, we got Genetic Limits. Applies exhaustion after a survivor heals somebody for 32 seconds. This isn't bad, but very specific against sprint burst users, I think. The duration is pretty lengthy, so might be good on Legion specifically for a lot of healing, so not really needs any changes currently. Forced Hesitation, when you put a survivor into the dying state, all survivors within 16 meters of the down serve suffer from a 15% hindered effect for 10 seconds, and has a 40-second cooldown. Okay, this one might be worrying. It's only good for fast mobility killers that can slug easily, which in my mind comes from Oni, Blight, and Nurse, who really don't need the hindered help. Combine this with Infectious Fright, and a lot of matches are going to be easily won by heavy slugging early on. This also counters flashlights really hard, which to me is pretty lame, because flashlight squads and people going for saves are some of the most fun aspects of DBD, and I would like if that wasn't discouraged. Machine Learning, the most recent gen you kicked will grant 7% haste and undetectable for 30 seconds after that gen is completed. Super niche, might have clutch value, but not overly amazing to use. Could be interesting with Rancor or Bitter Murmur though. I would like if they nerfed the time to 20 seconds, it may have just applied to every gen you kick, as it only applies on completion of the gen. Overall, the killer perks are either good or super niche, so nothing really needs to change for them. The survivor perks, however, don't have any downsides for how overly strong they are, which is pretty worrisome to me. Troubleshooter, which when in chase shows the most progressed gen aura, and after dropping a pallet shows the killer's aura for 6 seconds. The gen aura lingers for 10 seconds after chase. This one is worrisome to me, because 6 seconds of aura reading for pre-dropping pallets effectively nerfing all power counterplay a killer could possibly do against the person who pre-drops and holds W, especially on maps such as RPD and Midwich. A very simple stun the killer would fix the perk completely for the killer aura reading. Made for this, which when injured you run 3% faster, after you finish healing a survivor you gain a 10-second endurance effect. This can't be used when exhausted. Okay, so this perk, Haste Anywhere, needs a heavy prerequisite for activating. This one is to lose a chase. Any 110 killer or 4.4 movement speed is going to feel this perk hard. And as a Huntress main, it's basically going to be GG easy around any loop with high walls. You just can't do anything to counter it. Which, when you also account for the getting hit movement speed, which overcome buffs, but obviously this doesn't work with exhaustion, you get 3% haste for that movement speed as well. Honestly, this perk just doesn't need the haste. The endurance makes it good enough for the people and just standard healing clutch is, and removing the exhaustion effect as well if you're going to remove the haste. Scavenger gains 4 tokens for hitting great skill checks, recharges the toolbox completely when done, and deactivates the rest of the trial. And like Pharmacy, lets you loot 1 toolbox for free from chests. The perk itself isn't the issue, it really depends on toolboxes. A 32 charge toolbox with good add-ons could prove to be disastrous against killers with light to little slowdown, and I worry this will encourage 3 gens and heavy slowdown builds. The token requirement will need to be upped considerably, or the perk will need a complete rework, which isn't doable between the 3 weeks between PTB and live. That or behavior can rework toolboxes later down the line into something more interesting and dynamic for this perk. The killer itself is neat. Skill ceiling seems huge in terms of what you can do with the teleporting and tagging and running. I'll need more time before saying what's good or bad for him completely. Currently, hit and run will most likely be his best and easiest to learn tactics, same with regenning, which, just like Scully and Knight, will mean he could be played in a more interesting way that most players will end up ignoring. Its power lets you set cameras around the map to tag survivors, and then teleport to start a chase. Not a guaranteed hit, but will easily let you hit them if the survivor is caught unaware. Survivors can remove cameras with an EMP device thingy and spread infection to each other, which makes me think that Discordance will be pretty decent on the guy, just to be teleporting and constantly infecting and whatnot. The add-ons seem good for the rarities, and the design and aesthetic are top of the line. The only nerf I can see currently is maybe making the teleporting have a higher cooldown or something similar, but that might be over-nerfing him depending on how it's done. Which, small note, the bots instantly know when you're on cams, which made it really hard to use when I was testing the guy. The map is continuing the streak of bad map design, sadly. It's overly cluttered, making the 3 highest skill ceilings killers in the game get nerfed again, which are Blight, Billy, and Huntress, and I would love to see this map get decluttered. But I somehow doubt that will be happening anytime soon, especially when during the anniversary, the devs said they were proud of the crawler, which is pretty worrying for future map design. I have heard that the hitboxes are pretty accurate though, so maybe that will be decent. Also, it's impossibly hard to track on that map. I kept losing the bots repeatedly while testing, and they literally just stood still half the time. Otherwise, there were some niche killer changes. Most prevalent is Pyramid Head now tormenting survivors that get hit with his ranged ability, which is going to make him much nicer to play, and also 10 times stronger. I would not expect this to hit live as base kit, and most likely be attached to one of his eerie add-ons. Hop Goes the Weasel got buffed to 30% from 20%, which is nice and might see more usage. And Deja Vu got buffed to always show the 3 generators throughout the entire trial, and have a 6% repair speed bonus from 6. A nice buff that might see it get used a tiny bit more, especially because it's a free perk earlier on. And it's nice to see the devs concerned about the boring 3-gen meta that currently exists. The only problem I could see is them not nerfing the spread of gens, but instead nerfing something else, which could lead to killers feeling powerless against good teams. There's also the fact that as you nerf 3-genning, it's going to make gens faster to do, which will then just encourage 3-genning in the first place. Flashbangs can now be crafted while holding an item, which is nice and might be gearing up for flashbangs to start stacking with each other. And then a miscellaneous update is that items got recategorized into different things, which means Franklin's no longer affects killer items such as Pinhead's boxes, which I absolutely love. Otherwise, the last quality of life change was that the search bar got added for perks, add-ons, and offerings, so it's very useful and will definitely help you make builds on everyone faster. Anyway, I'll be on vacation when the actual chapter drops, so I won't be making a video for that, but I am excited to see what they changed between PTB and Live for everyone else to use on day 1. Anyway, this was Emerald signing off for testing for the day.
It will be fast, possibly painless. Die fast, please. It is over.